What's up, guys? Welcome to the Mad Chatter Podcast, where, like I said before, my favorite people hit the like and subscribe button. What is this podcast about? Anything and everything. So that one guy can get a fucking dollar. So, Angelo,
Yes.
back again.
Back again.
You know, I was supposed to have another guest on this week.
Whoever could that
This
have been?
beautiful person. Well, I'm 2 for 2 for women not responding to me. So instead of turning this into a I Hate Women podcast, we're going to turn this into I Love Women podcast. Angelo, tell me what you love about women in rap.
Everything cool that I was about to just say, you ruined it with adding rap to the end of that. I can't make a rap about women.
I can. Yo,
bet you
I
can.
love women. We on opposite teams. We both on the line of scrimmage. No.
Cut that.
Come
Nick.
on. No,
Nick,
don't cut that. Keep that in there. Come
Nick.
on, let's keep it rolling. Angelo, spit something. Why you love women?
I love women because
Because the things they be given.
Because the things they be given that unfortunately I have not been getting. I need a little bit more in my mitten. I think you know what I mean, homie. I get it. I need a little bit of something in my life, a little P. I got a little bit of D that I can give to somebody who want to give it right back to me. I'm going to tell you right now, I want a little bit of something that I can SMOKE, something that I can put inside my LUNGs. If you know how to spell, then you know what I mean.
Straight up motherfucking ABCs.
But don't forget the D. That's what I got.
Well, you did good enough for both of us.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. So
Took a second. All right, get the blood flowing.
Yeah. So today's episode is going to be about redefining yourself
Wonderful.
and consistency. And who were you 5 years ago? Were you a different person versus who you are today? And I hope the answer is yes, unless you were God, you know? If you were God before, don't be less than God. You're like, well, actually, I'm God plus. I'm God plus Ultra. What's the new phones like? I'm the God 10 note. Yeah, that's good. I
So
like
basically,
that.
basically like John is a baseline.
God, yeah. John is God. I hope he sees this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll love this. He knows he's God.
It's just gonna be like, oh my god.
Fuck, I can't do this. Fuck, man. Oh, shit.
We love you, John.
So, 5 years ago, man.
Totally different. There's no comparison. Like, well,
So,
yeah, like
so how old are you now?
I'm 27 now.
27. So
I'll be 28 in December this year.
okay. So you
Which is
were
crazy.
22 5 years ago.
Yeah, when we met, I just turned 22, right around then, and yeah, I was doing things a lot differently then.
Yeah.
I was hoping to be able to find the energy and the willpower in myself to start doing things that I'm doing now all the time. I'm in a better situation than there's some things about my current situation right now that I'd like to be better, sure, but pulling out as much of like the tedious negative things out of like my daily life right now. This is my living situation. I'm in the process of trying to move. We don't have to get into all that right now. We'll just leave it at noisy neighbors. But other than that, like I'm definitely in a better place than I've ever been before. I'm in a position to where I don't have to ask my dad to like help me pay my bills and stuff like that. Like I don't have, usually if I'm in a situation to where I'm being lent something, it's like the laptop situation where, so I'm able to pay my own bills for like 98% of the way. I've been able to pay my bills and then get myself a little extra stuff here and there. I've managed to live on my own now for almost a little over 3 years now. And let's see, I'm eating better, taking care of myself better now. I'm actually working out regularly again, which I wholeheartedly intend on sticking to this time, and it's much easier than it's ever been.
Fat biceps, man. Go ahead and show everyone.
Man, I'm getting there, man.
Yeah. Show us the disco ball, man. Show us the disco
The
ball.
disco ball.
Yeah.
But so there's that. What else? Some other stuff that I wanted to touch on. Big thing. For the past 2 or 3 years, it's been a big project trying to get my sister from New York to here.
Yeah.
You're very well aware of that whole process. It took a long while, but I finally got things to the point to where I was able to not only convince her to come here, not even convince her, like she wanted to come here. She just needed a little bit more time to go through like she was just going through constant drama up there all the time. I don't want to get, too far off on a tangent with that, but there was a lot of negative stuff going on in her life for a long period of time. I wanted to get her out of that. It went from me talking to her all the time and kind of planting that seed here and there to her actually getting on board with it and being like, okay, I want to come there. And so not only did that happen, but we were able to actually line up a time. We were able to stick to our time frame for the most part. And I got her here. So she's here now. That was a really, really big goal and a really big step for me. I haven't been as present daily as I'd like to be, so that I can just really kind of appreciate that we did that and we got her here.
Yeah.
And I've been able to be a very positive influence in her life because of all the changes about myself that I've made over the past 5 years, and I've been able to instill a lot of that information and a lot of that wisdom into her, and not only that, but plant seeds that she's watering herself now. Now she's starting to grow as an individual and as a person, and all of that has come from me just passing on a little bit of information that I've taken it upon myself to learn over the last 4 or 5 years from things that you made me aware of. So yeah, just I stayed about as on topic as I could with that. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that I've improved on, some things that I'm still working on. But overall, I am 360 degrees a different person than I was 5 years ago. Absolutely.
So you're saying you're working out again, and you're what else is the other thing? I'm
exercising,
and
yeah, I'm staying consistent with my exercising now. And what was the other thing? Well, I think my brain's like having a crap out moment right now, but really the main two things that I'm like revitalizing my consistency with would be my fitness, my working out, and then my money habits.
Yeah, money habits.
I'm really trying to get that back on track. We've talked about that 101,000 times, and you already know where I'm lacking, but I'm working on it. It's not a mute point that a lot of sacrifices need to be made, but the more and more that the days go on and the more aggravated that I get with my current living situation, and obviously the myriad of other things that come with understanding how much easier your life is going to be when you have financial freedom. It's just one more of the aspects that make me that have just kind of like thrown some cold water on my face, so to speak, as far as like, you like let go of this for a while. You got to wake the fuck back up and get back into this. Otherwise, you're going to end up where you fear to end up. And so fitness and money thing, and watching my money and making sure that it's working for me instead of going out as fast as it comes in. Those are the things that I've struggled the most with as far as consistency goes, but what I'm working on the most right now.
So, when you think back to your past 5 years ago, how would you define yourself, and where's the gap?
What do you mean by the gap?
The gap, like from that person 5 years ago, if he was standing next to you today. Like his habits, his attitudes, his perspectives versus what you have now. Like, how would you define yourself back then? Like, what sort of picture would you paint of that version of yourself?
Opinionated, ignorant and apathetic.
Apathetic, could you describe that?
Yeah, apathetic means you really don't give a fuck about anything enough to actually put action forward. Like, I'm not working out like I need to. Nah, whatever, I'll do it later. Like, I don't really care.
You did
like,
end
whatever.
up doing it later.
I did. Here we are. Working out, exercising, eating right, whatever. I don't really care that much about it. I'd rather play this video game right now. Money. I need to be saving money right now. I need to be setting myself up to be in a better position down the road. Fuck it, I'll do it later. I'm not worried about it. Like, that's apathy. Apathy is just being absolutely, and you can throw up a definition on the screen if you want to, but I'm pretty sure it's something along the lines of being absolutely and obliviously careless about most things in your life. Like, you really just don't care.
Yeah. And
that was probably one of the most destructive ways of thinking about things that I could have possibly embarked in. But I wasn't actively pursuing a life of apathy. It was just what it was at the time. I didn't have people exposing me to the information that you were soon to be exposing me to. I hadn't had anybody give me any wisdomful insight that was actually helpful. All I had was people telling me how rough life is and how that's just how things go, versus people taking responsibility for their own fuck-ups and telling me how I could avoid what they've done wrong. Like, my dad for a long time was always like, don't be like me. You know, like, he's doing a lot better now. He's actually in a really good place for the most part in his life right now, which is awesome. But for a lot of years, that was not the case. And all the time he would tell me, don't be like me, be better than I've been. But he could never like, educationally pinpoint where he fucked up. Yeah. Like, he could never be like, look, this is what I did, try doing this, or do anything but this. Like, all he ever really said to me was, do better than I'm doing now. I don't want you to struggle like I'm having to struggle. And, we've talked about this. I don't think I've said it on the podcast, but I've lived in probably close to between 30 and 35 different places over a course of 16 years between Bossier, Shreveport, and Houghton. Most of that's been because of money trouble and because of either eviction situations or just bad blood with landlords between my dad and, like, other stuff like that. So most of our moving around has been attributed to money inconsistency and lack of budgeting and stuff. Like, my dad's just been horrible with money for a really long time, but now he's at a point to where he's making enough of it to where, he's not really, like, hurting too much for it, but he's also still not watching his money like he should be, but he's just making enough of it to where it, like, covers the spread. I got a little off topic there, but the whole question, I think, was the difference between me then and now.
Yeah, and so who are you now?
Man,
how would you describe that?
This is one more thing that I wanted to touch on about how I used to think about things, or how I used to deal with anger, and how I used to deal with problems, and how I used to rationalize with things that bothered me. So now if things aggravate me or really piss me off, I can even if I have, like, rash moments of judgment where I kind of, have those blow up moments or whatever, I'm so much quicker to pull myself out of that after just maybe a minute or two, like almost immediately after it happens, and I realize the ass that I've just made out of myself. Like, I was
gonna say, when you get angry, you're being mindful and you're angry, like like talking to Nick or whatever, y'all were going at it. And in that moment, you're like observing yourself, like that angry version of yourself just talking, and you're like in your own head being like, well, fuck.
At a certain point, I was just the observer.
Yeah, like you were like trapped, like you were just watching it. Yeah, no, yeah. That's all the time, my dude.
Yes. So, I mean, but now, like, it used to be where I would have taken that to a whole nother level, maybe even being willing to fight somebody over it. Versus me being able to, like, that one ruined my whole day. Yeah. That was it's been a while since I've let one like that ruin my entire day, but now I'm at least able to give myself almost immediate perspective on what's just happened and, like, try to think it over so that I can avoid falling into that same trap again the next time if something like that happens to me. But I used to not care at all. I used to just be like, if you piss me off, fuck you. You're on my bad side now, and
Don't want to be on my bad
yeah,
side.
God forbid you push me past my bad side, because at that point
My
I'm just
ugly side.
gonna take it to violence and fuck you all the way up physically. Like, and that was the end all be all answer for me. But now I think about things much further as far as like, how am I going to feel about this? How am I going to feel about myself acting like this when it's all over with, and when I'm finally calmed down and I'm at home thinking about it, playing it back in my head, or now being a grown ass adult like I have been for a while. Should have been thinking about things like this forever ago, but now it's like, what legal repercussions could there be if I let myself get
You're
out of
actually
hand?
thinking it through.
Like what happens if I get pissed off at the wrong person for the wrong reason one day, and I just haul off and hit somebody, and that dude, I knocked this guy out, and now he falls down and hits his head on the ground and dies.
Yeah. Or gets brain damage.
Yeah. Or just once, or the least worst scenario, I just hit him, he bleeds a little bit, whatever, no problem. But then he wants to press charges against me. Well, now I have a whole court battle and money stuff. That's like, so I'm actually starting to think through like the more emotional, the more physical repercussions of my emotional outbursts and stuff like that. So that's a really, really big strong point that I've been working on for a long time. I'm much better with handling those tense situations now than I was, even though I'm not still super great at it. I'm way better than I was. I also care a lot more about trying to better myself, because I don't just look at it as like a selfish thing anymore. Like it used to be, oh man, I want to look better so that I can get more women, or I want to look better so that people will respect me more off top, or whatever the case was. Or I want to become mentally better so that I can be smarter than these people. But now, now I'm looking at myself as a tool, as somebody who can teach somebody else something. Like, if I can make myself better, then I can pass that on to other people. If I can teach myself how to get past the mental blocks of not being able to get up and work out every day, or get past the mental blocks of saying no to that really crappy food when you could be putting something better in your body, or being able to teach myself how to think about something differently so that I can teach somebody else who's going through absolute hell and mental anguish every day because they're trapped in a cycling thought process that just brings them deeper and deeper into their funk. Like, if I can learn some stuff to make myself better in some of these areas, then I can turn myself into not only a better version of myself, but a tool and a teacher to pass that on to other people.
I think giving is...
It's so fruitful.
I mean, like, if you have give and take, and in this world you can give and you can take some, right? Like, giving to other people feels so much better than getting something for yourself. That's why, like, I try to be mindful not to just give shit away all the time. Like, I want to buy you shit. I want to buy all my friends shit. You know what I mean? Because I love giving stuff away, but I'm like, I've broken it down to dopamine. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it feels great to give. It also feels good. It feels good to buy something for myself. It feels great to buy something for someone else. And that's just one example of it. But, I got to be mindful of my budget.
Okay, I was going to say, what do you feel like you're selling yourself short of?
I don't feel like I'm selling myself. I feel like I'm delaying gratification. Like, the more I delay gratification, the shit I'm going to buy else is going to be so much nicer.
Okay, so you're just talking about it on the simple basis of what we've talked about.
Yeah, like, because, I'll think about shit. Like, if you like something, or Trevor likes something, Austin likes it, and I'm at the store.
I want to get that for you.
Yeah, like, I'll be like, oh, man, I'll surprise. Because one of my love languages is gifting.
Yeah.
And... But yeah, back to this or whatever. I was going to say the gap, right? So you defined yourself as someone as apathetic before, apathetic, angry, and
was apathetic, ignorant, and apathetic, ignorant, and shit, I can't even remember.
Just angry.
Yeah, it's just.
And then now you're You're still kind of angry, right? But
Sure.
you're less angry. All right.
Yeah.
You're much more calm. Would you describe yourself as a calm person?
No.
Yeah, I don't
Fuck
think
no.
so. No.
I'm the furthest. Even once I get past my anger,
I
I will be the
wouldn't
furthest
describe
thing
you
from
as
a
calm.
calm person. I am a very loud, outspoken, out there guy. There's been plenty of times where I've like seen myself on camera or like, you know, seen a video of myself acting an ass or whatever. And I just like, sometimes I wish that I could change that a little bit just because like I love the idea of the quiet man. The quiet man who says nothing and lets his actions speak for him.
Of course.
But that's just not me.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking loud dude. Like I'm working on that. But I'm also just like, that's another thing that I'm working on is just being more comfortable in my own skin and embracing the parts of my personality that are just there and figuring out how to make them work for me instead of finding ways to think of how they negatively impact me, how they can, you know.
Who you are the things you can't change.
Man, yeah, being a loud, outspoken person is one of those
Me too.
things.
I always impressed with people that are quiet because I talk so much.
My sister's boyfriend, Austin, he is like that.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to work to be like that.
I know, man. I have to like, if I'm being quiet.
But of course, the quiet person's over there thinking, man, I wish I could just talk like them.
Yes, it's like everybody feels like they have, you know, everybody feels like they can be better in some way. Like where I feel like, oh man, I'm too loud and I'm too in your face and stuff like that. There might be some other people who are like, man, I need some of that.
That's why
I could use a little of that in my life.
That's why it's so weird when we're at work and we're just both quiet. At a certain point, I just take that time to think about and reflect on shit. Like, especially if you're angry, and I was like, well, I'm not going to talk to Angelo right now because
I have nothing to offer at that point.
I'm just going to poke him. I'm just going to keep poking him. Like, so Angelo, you know none of this is real, right?
Oh, man, yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah, you're like, shut the fuck up.
Just let me be mad right now, all right? I fucking need this.
I earned this.
Yeah.
I earned this moment.
Don't you take this away from me.
You think you're fucking funny because you think fucking nothing matters?
You think you're better than me because you're not pissed off right now? Like,
you think because you can handle your emotions, you're fucking God?
Yeah, that's definitely something I get pulled into all the time. It's because it's hard, man. Like when I get caught up in it, I'm in it, dude. Like, and like I said before, I'm much better at swimming my way out of it now. But man, I think back sometimes to just like, dude, it would carry over to the next day sometimes. Like I would take that shit home with me, man. Like, and just stew over it and like replay the scenario in my head. Like a lot of the times when I'd be talking to myself out loud, it was literally like me replaying the scenario in my head and saying what I wish I would have said in the moment when I had
what's
the
changed?
I just don't fucking care about those scenarios after I'm past them now. Like, I see no value anymore in taking that shit with me.
So you...
The only things that I care about now are trying to pick out of that situation what I can learn about how I could have dealt with it better. Because the difference was before when I said, oh, I would replay the scenario in my head and think about what I wish I would have said. Well, the problem with that was that it was all negative and vindictive. It was like, I wish that I had the mind about me to tell you to go fuck yourself in a more intelligent way so that you understood and felt stupider. Like, but now it's like if I'm replaying the scenario in my head, it's because I'm trying to pick out of that scenario where I went wrong and what I could have done to better handle the situation and how I can use what I can pick out of that to learn to be better in the next situation that I get in so that I'm not that belligerent, incomprehensible dick. Like I'm trying to be more mindful and I'm trying to get through those tough situations and maybe be able to offer the other person that I'm in a fucking encounter with or a feud or whatever. Like if I can leave that situation having mediated it and having that person think more of me than when we started it, because a lot of times when you get into those little scuffles with people, they think less of you afterwards. There was a complete disagreement. You guys couldn't come to an understanding about anything. At this point, you're just wrong as fuck to them and they're just wrong as fuck to you. But if I can leave that situation with them going, all right, man, like I see where we went wrong here. You know, like, I'm glad we got this figured out, and we'll try to be better moving forward, instead of me being like, yeah, fuck you. Like, that's the difference. Is I used to be like, I wish I could have given that fuck you more intelligently, but now I'm like, how do I avoid this moving forward and make a more rational thinking person out of myself? Like, how do you know, I'm trying to chisel away all that negative shit that used to keep me up at night, and I'm trying to use those pieces to try to build a better version of myself by thinking differently and by learning new stuff. So that's the best way that I could describe it.
I'm just thinking to the whole shuffle with Nick, and like that anger, how long it carried out. Like, you were being mindful in the moment, even recognizing it, being aware of your thoughts and feelings, but we were still captivated by it. But it's like, that's where, just like anytime, like Monday is bare minimum my day of exercise. Bare minimum. Like, I'm working out Monday. And the days that I really don't feel like working out, like to the point where I'm just like, I do it. And it's not like I force myself to do it. I just fucking do it. Like, the more I don't want to do it, that's the reason to do it. That's where the gains are made. Yeah. Just like when you're pushing yourself working out. Like, when you feel like you're like, that's it, I can't take anymore. You could take a little bit more. At least do that one time every workout. You're pushing yourself every time.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I did that last night at the gym and this morning. I did not want to go run this morning.
Well, I said all that just for that moment, and I didn't intervene. You know, it took you a whole day to get over that, right? Or most of the day.
Yeah.
Old you could have carried that into the next day or fought him.
Yeah.
And been arrested.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big difference. And even though it took you your whole day, the more you still have a character trait, or however you want to put it, that you just, it's harder for you to get over shit, and you're quicker to anger.
I just care a lot more than the average Joe, and it's a lot of times it's really not out of negativity. It's because I care in a positive way, but I can't get the effect that I'm looking for with my words sometimes.
Well, I was just going to measure it in how long it takes you to get over shit, right? It took you most of the day. You keep working at it, that's where the gains are made. That's the pushing. It's being aware and trying. Even though it feels like, well, I'm still angry, it's the trying in the moment that is where you're getting stronger. So, like, next time it happens, let's say we could just re-roll the scenario, but it's the version of yourself a year from now. Maybe it took you 2 hours to get over it instead of 8 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you've improved 75%, or it gets to the point where, yeah, you feel that anger and that tension, but you don't latch on to it. And, like, once it's done, you can just let go of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, another thing, like, sometimes it would even carry on for even longer than like a couple of days. Like, I feel like the old version of me would have like been able to let it go maybe the day or two after that, but as soon as I seen him at work again, that would have been immediately sparked back up. I would have immediately had those feelings again.
Do you feel like that's going to be Nick?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, I feel like if anything, I feel like I'm going to talk to him about it next time I see him, or just not even bring it up at all and just be like, yo, man, sorry about that bullshit Sunday. Like, I feel like at this point, there's nothing more positive that we could do right now than to just apologize and let it go. Like, because I don't want to talk about it again.
I think you could. I would talk about it again.
I don't see,
just because it's not the first time.
I feel like though at this point, the smaller victory would be worth it, because I feel like if we go into it again, we're gonna get into the same disagreement and misunderstanding that we did the time before, that we did when it happened.
Well, go ahead and just like the quick version of the disagreement.
I mean, it was okay. Basically, like, he said some stuff to me that did not need to be said or brought up or addressed, which was that, like, I said something to a coworker of ours, who shall remain nameless, and I got on his ass because he wasn't doing anything, and he, and I'm not the boss or anything, but I just, like, You know what I mean? Oh fuck it, man. So it was Wesley. Like I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Shout out to Wesley.
What's
Hi,
up,
buddy.
Wesley?
Wesley's a good kid. I fucking love Wesley. He's a good dude. But he is one of the most effective slackers I have ever met in my whole fucking life. Like he's able to get away with shit at work that nobody should ever be able to get away with. And he's able to keep people liking him on top of that. I've never seen all the miners that we have working there. I don't see any of the other ones take as many breaks as he takes, and I've also have not seen anybody else who works there that is required to take breaks be sitting around even when he's not on break as much as he is. And I like to fuck with him about that.
So that made you angry, or were you already angry about?
I wasn't angry. Like I was like 15, 20% serious when I said what I did to Wesley.
Oh, it sounded much more serious than that.
I mean, like it didn't get serious until he took it personal.
The vibe when you said that was not a great vibe. This is how I took it, so you can get my perspective. I never even put my 2 cents in it. I mean, I guess I gave you 1 cent when we talked about it later. But yeah, when I seen that, I mean, I wasn't gonna say this in the moment because there was no benefit, but I was like, that's just textbook Tony shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
That's how it felt from my perspective, because Tony, I've seen Tony do that so much.
But Tony's done that for way less.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like, and when there's 3 or 4 of us up there, and we're already shorthanded, and one of the only few people that we got up there isn't doing shit, that makes more work for the rest of us.
I totally agree. I'm not disagreeing with what you said. More like how you put it, like, Wesley.
How do you put that in a nice way? Like, I mean, like
Nick,
I've one time I've been able to apply what Nick's advice was and I've gone that route, and I tried to go that route with him one day, specifically about a problem that he started with Wesley. Like, he got into it with Wesley over the same type of shit, and I had to pull Nick aside to try to calm him down so that we could have a kosher rest of the morning. And then he comes at me about this shit like he's the teacher in the moment. Like he hasn't had to have been called out on the same issue that he was trying to call me out way more times than it's been an issue for me.
We should have just made this whole thing.
Like,
a podcast about this whole thing.
Like, it was like this. Like, the shit that maybe I came at Wesley a little too aggressively. But, like, Wesley shouldn't have taken that shit as personally as he did. Like, he took that shit personal as fuck and walked out over it.
Yeah.
Like, he walked out the back door over it. Like, he's like, man, I don't say no hateful shit to you like that. Like, what I said was hateful, telling him to do his job when he wasn't doing anything.
The whole reason I'm bringing this is not about being right or wrong. It's about intention, and I'm just trying to explain my perspective on how I seen it. Like, you say you got a coworker that's not pulling his own weight. There's really nothing you can do about that. There's really nothing you can do about that.
I disagree with that because I've done stuff to change that.
Okay.
The day that I'm talking about, I got a good morning out of everybody because of what I did. And you know what? To Nick's credit, I did it the way that he was talking about. Like, he was the squeaky wheel that morning because he was just in a bad mood. And, like, there was a situation between Wesley and Linda that they were, like, yelling at each other, but most of it was because the music was real loud, and it went from them yelling at each other because they were trying to yell over the music to them yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And Nick was in the middle of it. Like, he was in the kitchen pressing out dough. Wesley's on the other side of him. Linda's in the back with me. Mm-hmm. So they're yelling at each other, and Nick's right in the middle of it, catching both sides of it. So he got pissed off and starts, like, I literally had, like, right before this whole thing got too bad, I walked up there and I pulled Wesley out to the lobby, and I very calmly was like, yo, dude, I was like, this morning is going to go a lot easier for all of us if you just drop this and just get back to doing what you were doing, whatever. It's like, at this point, do it for me, if nothing else. Like, I would greatly appreciate it. Like, we're all doing pretty good this morning. And then so I got Wesley calmed down, you know what I'm saying? I told Linda that I went and talked to Wesley. She was calmed down. She was cool. And then I can't remember if it was either something that Linda said or whatever, but Nick just pops off out of nowhere and starts screaming. And he's like, I'm getting tired of this bullshit, man. Like, yeah, and I'm paraphrasing here. Like, I don't remember exactly what he said. He was like, man, I'm getting tired of this shit, man. Y'all need to just shut up and quit yelling. Like, this ain't doing nothing but pissing me off now. Like, and after I had just put in all that time to calm everybody down, he just sparked that shit right back up and then pissed Linda back off. And Linda was like, I don't know who you're talking to. She's like, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, this is my shift. Like I have this under control. And then he's making personal attacks on her and her job by saying shit like, obviously not, because here we are. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and I walked up there to him and I was like, you know what? I literally just spent like a whole 4 or 5 minutes trying to calm everybody down, and all that work that I just put in, you just fucked it all up. And he got pissed at me for that. And then we ended up getting into it.
Yeah, okay.
Because like, it was just like, I was just like, look, man, like I have done my best to try to keep this morning going smooth, and all the work that I just put into it, you just fucked it up by being a child.
I think.
And then I had my turn at that whenever we got into it, because I was the child that day. I'll be the one to admit that.
Anger literally just makes people stupid.
Yeah, and so the whole thing, and that's just one day. There's been a lot of different days where, you know, Nick's had his bad mornings and is lashing out at people and being a fucking asshole for no reason. You know what I mean? And like another comment that he made was about me going off on Caleb one day, because, you know, Caleb had done, I've heard Nick bite Caleb's head off before, and, you know, talk shit to him before, just out of like, it was just like all the stuff that Nick was trying to address with me after what happened with Wesley. It was like, it was an attempt. It was like an honest attempt at trying to bring some perspective to the situation, and he went about it the wrong way at the wrong time.
I think you were arguing with him because he did everything too.
That was the beginning of the argument.
I did not catch part 2, but before we get into that, I just, you know, want to like wrap up part 1 of the argument. Obviously, there's a lot of context that I missed, but I mean, you just filled me in. What I'm saying is, and I can't imagine you would handle the situation as I would handle the situation, because we're two different people. Like, just our attitudes and our general philosophies do diverge at a certain point. But I look at the situation like Wesley, and saying that shit to Wesley, how you said it, like Nick said, like, you know, is not going to produce a positive outcome.
Yeah, that's true.
I assumed you just got shit going on, and then whether or not you even knew it intentionally, that shit may have came out harsher than you wanted it to.
Yeah.
And Wesley, you know, he's got all his shit going on, right?
Yeah.
You know,
which is why I apologized to Wesley before he left.
Absolutely. I just like, and then seeing that happen, and then Nick said something I would say if I was Nick in Nick's shoes with our relationship, I would say the same shit and be like, hey, but you didn't have to do it like that. Which was enough for you to be like, well, you do that sort of shit all the time. And it's not about
just because he does it sometimes doesn't take any validity away from the point he was making. He was still right. Yeah. In the moment with the first few things that he said.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I can agree with some of the stuff that he said was on point. And that was a personal attack on my ego in the moment.
And then you said something back to him, and then his ego flared up, and then it was just a battle of egos.
It was just like, and then once it finally got to the point to where I was like, we need to just drop this. And then what happened was, this is where your context, the part 2, comes in. He said something to me walking past me that I did not hear.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that he had said something to me. All I heard was this. He walked past me. We were doing stuff, and he just walked past me. And this wasn't even a full minute. This wasn't even a full 60 seconds after we had decided to let this go.
Yeah.
So then he passes me, and he said something to me that I didn't hear. And then he goes, so this is all I heard. We pass each other, and then all of a sudden I hear, oh, okay, so you're just going to ignore me now? Okay. That's what he said to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I'm like, did we not just agree to let this go? I'm obviously still upset.
Yeah.
I need some time to like recalibrate here. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I said something to the effect of, What I didn't hear you say anything. What are you talking about? Like in my mind, I'm just being quiet, and he just all of a sudden says, "Oh, okay, so you're ignoring me now." Like when we just agree, like, but I didn't hear that he had said something to me. So that was where that's why he said, "Oh, okay, so you're just gonna ignore me now." So then I was like, I didn't hear what you said, man. I was like, I need like silence right now. I'm not trying to talk to nobody. I'm trying to recalibrate. And then he goes into his whole, oh no, it's okay, man. If you don't want to talk to me, don't fucking talk to me. Then you want to cool down and not talk to nobody. Like he took it super personal and then got loud about it. Like, and then I'm like, I thought we just agreed to drop this, and you're literally sparking this back up. And so then it went from the issue of the misunderstanding with the, oh, I guess you're just going to ignore me now, to the issue of we said we were going to let this go, and now you're sparking it back up, and I'm trying to move on, and you won't fucking let me. It's because he couldn't shut up for long enough to let it go and let it simmer to the point to where I got fed up with him trying to argue his point about arguing his point. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? If we're already this far in this, let's go ahead and have it all the way out. And then he wanted to cut it off and say, no, fuck that. So I kept like blocking him into the back area. Like, fuck that. You did this. So now we're going to have this out. Like, because I asked you to let it go, and you fucking wouldn't.
It was funny because both of y'all did that. At one point, he was like, let's let it go. Let's let it go.
That was the
that was the beginning. No, the beginning time where you had brought it back up, and this was a short-lived moment, keep in mind. He's like, I thought we dropped this, and then later it was the opposite way, where then he went to let it go, and then you were back to not letting it go because he brought it up again.
Yeah, I was just like, I was past this when we let it go the first time, and now you're relighting the fucking fire. And then he wouldn't. Then what really, really, really pissed me off, what really threw the icing on the cake, was that I literally gave him a play-by-play of what he had just did to re-spark my fire, and he would not take accountability for where he went wrong in that scenario. He was just trying to aim all of the blame at me, like I was the only person being irrational, and like he had no part in the re-bringing up of the problem, which was obviously not the situation. And I literally was, at a certain point, was arguing against a brick wall because he refused to take accountability or responsibility for the part of this that he went wrong in when I had already taken. Like, I wasn't trying to dispute anything that happened on my end. Like, I was like, I know I fucked up with this whole thing at the beginning, and I know that I was wrong for saying some of the shit that I said or being how I was about it. Like, I don't mind taking accountability for it. That's what officially pissed me off for the rest of the day, was that he's claimed he walks around and he carries himself like this grown ass adult kid. And it's making me mad because I remember doing that when I was his age. Thinking to myself, I know all these things already. I don't need you telling me shit. But now I got this 18-year-old kid who's literally a decade fucking younger than me at this point, who thinks he knows enough to tell me how I should be about stuff. And I'm just like, I'm between being aggravated at his ignorance and being aggravated because of how much of the old me I was seeing in him at that time.
And he had a point.
Well, he had a point at the beginning.
As the only context in which I have was the first point.
That was the only thing that he had going for him.
I'm not trying to discredit. I have not.
After that,
I just stayed out of the rest of it.
After that first dispute ended, he made a complete and utter ass out of himself.
Yeah.
Not that I did any better in the situation, but he was perpetuating it further. And I was just like, I was like, okay, look, if we're going to sit here and point fingers at each other and play who said what, that's fine. But we're going to do this if we're going to do this. And that means that you have to take responsibility for your bullshit. And he refused to do it and was trying to point the whole thing at me. Like this was me who was being extremely irrational and wouldn't let it go. Like,
you can't force people to do stuff.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And that's what got me heated about it.
That's the thing. When you were hot in the beginning, and if you had time to calm down, it wouldn't have gone that far. But then he's the same way, to where he gets hot and he hasn't calmed down. Like, he's just emotionally charged. Y'all are both emotionally charged a lot of the time at work.
Yeah.
And, another thing, too, is it's not in a conversation between people, especially people that are quick to anger and stuff. It's not about what you say. It's about what they heard.
That's another really good point.
Because what he said is not what you heard or what you felt. What he said and just the words of it made sense, but what he said implied some shit.
Yeah.
That you're self-conscious about.
Like if I could go back now, I would have went back to that entire situation, to the very beginning of it, when he was still calmly in a nice fashion addressing me about some of these things. What I would do now, probably, because I'd still probably feel some type of way about it even now, even having perspective afterwards, like, because some of the stuff that he said did bother me even still now.
Yeah.
But that's not his fault. That's because of my shit.
Yeah.
But the point is that, like, if I could go back, as soon as he would have started addressing some of these things, I probably just would have swallowed my opinion and been like, you know what, all right, man. And I would have just let that marinate a little bit, let him get his piece out, and then I probably would have went up there and just got the apology to Wesley out the way. I was already planning on apologizing to Wesley. That was just the argument between me and Nick prolonged that because I didn't want it to seem like I was apologizing to Wesley because of what I just went through with Nick. I didn't want to give Nick that satisfaction, like as if that would matter any fucking way. Nick, if you're watching this, I don't care, man. We're totally fucking cool, dude. I had my fair share to play in that bullshit. But, like, that was what was going through my head at the moment. I wanted to make sure that my apology was organic and meaningful.
Yeah.
You know, and Wesley knows, man. I've had enough conversations with Wesley in private to where he knows that I love that kid. Like, he knows I give a fuck about him. Like, I'd beat the shit out of somebody for Wesley if it was necessary. Like, if he was getting, fucked around or whatever, like, I'd stick up for Wesley, hands down, for sure. He's a good kid. And, me and him have a lot of similarities as far as growing up through a lot of fucked up things. So all that being said, either way, if I could go back, we wouldn't even got to the first part of that argument. I wouldn't even have let it go that far.
And look, man, a year from now, 2 years from now, that you'll probably be that version of yourself if you stay.
And regardless,
mindful.
I would like to wrap all of this up by saying that I handled that shit horribly. Like, there was no good part. There was no part of that where I could, like, legitimately stick up for myself. Like, I was just an absolute belligerent fucking fool about that whole thing. I got 10 million and one things going on my plate at home and in my head at all times that played a huge role in how I was acting. But the ego was playing a real strong role there, and so were my emotions and my opinions, and I'm still a fucking human being who's working on himself, so that shit still gets the best of me sometimes. Long story short, I don't feel like that I was necessarily 100%. I don't feel like that I was necessarily right at all in that situation at all. I feel like Nick had some good points at the beginning that I probably should have listened to, but all in all, it was just a horrible fucking exchange. It had good intentions, but I fucked up and I could have done better, and I will do better next time. And that's like that's the standard that I'd like to hold myself to, is that, if anybody takes anything away from it, if Wesley or Nick, either one of y'all watch this, you two would pretty much be the only people who would have useful context as far as what we're talking about here. But if so, if you do watch it, I'm sorry that I was a fucking asshole that day. I'm still working on things, and I definitely will do my best to deal with those issues better in the future. But yeah, work in progress, man.
That's
work
all
in
we
progress.
Are, man.
All I know is that it's most important to me that I don't mind being honest about my bullshit. So that's
fucking key.
It's the most important for me right now.
I mean, 5 years ago, would you have been able to say all that?
Fuck no. 5 years ago.
Or would you be like, fuck that motherfucker?
5 years ago, I'd be like, I'm ready to see him again so I can fuck his ass up. That's what I'd be 5 years ago. That's what I'd be thinking. Matter of fact, there wouldn't even be a next time 5 years ago because I'd have beat the shit out of him at work that day, and that would have been a wrap. Like, I'd have fucking went to jail with a smile on my face about that shit. Like,
smiling,
like that'll teach you, motherfucker, and tell me how to live my life.
Fuck yeah, worth it.
Yeah, it's just so stupid.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we went off there, and I was fine with it. I wanted to get into that.
That's good stuff to talk about. It's a good point.
But like that 5 years, from that version of yourself to today, how did you do it? How were you? Because some things have to remain consistent.
Days, weeks, months, and then into years of listening to Alan Watts and Jordan Peterson and journaling and practicing mindfulness and being present. That is the most consistent stuff that I could give you. Is just like, if there were any constants in my life through all of these years, it would be listening to talks about philosophy, and practicing mindfulness and practicing self-awareness every single fucking day.
Would you say humility?
That fall. I mean, that just
Like you,
that
I feel
comes
like you,
with it.
honesty,
That comes with it.
Like you first, you got to be honest with yourself about where you're at.
You know what? I think I think that's a good. I think I probably could have started that out with humility, because humility is where it started. I had to. You're right. I had to first be like, fuck, I've been doing shit really fucked up for a long while, and I didn't even know how bad this shit was. Like, how negatively this is affecting every single aspect of how I act and how I present myself and how I do things. Like, yeah, I had to be willing to be completely humiliated and be completely wrong about everything that I was doing and be okay with that. That was the first step. The first step was admitting to myself that I have to start from scratch, and I have to uncondition myself. I have to recondition my brain to think about everything differently. Every single aspect of how I think about my life needs to change. And that was where I started. I started with admitting to myself that I was wrong, and then consistently being okay with admitting where I was wrong. Because as soon as I admit that I'm wrong, I've set a precedent for what I want to work on. So that's yes. That's another huge constant. Actually, probably even more than any other things that I've just said would be able to have that the humility part of it.
Yeah, I
like,
feel
yes,
like,
I'm wrong. I need to work on this.
Man,
And it's been hard. There's been some days, man, where it's just like feels like it's not even worth it, but it's always worth it.
I don't think you could stop if you wanted to. I think this is my theory on trying to understand this. You know how I always fucking Christ, I'm a broken record. You don't exist in your conscious mind, because there's moments, like you said, when you're in that conversation with Nick and you're just the awareness, you're just watching yourself do this, but all you are is just watching the observing state, right? And then there's other times where you feel like, oh, I did this. I'm very in control of my body. And I think it has more to do with our perception of ourselves. And when our mind is like, yes, I'm telling myself to do this, and like your actions and your mind are aligned to where it feels like you are an operator inside your body controlling everything.
So basically, like whether or not I approve or disapprove of my actions for the day, like that really kind of is only going to depend on how, like if I'm really, like what happened with Nick, if I'm really, really pissed off and that happened, and I wasn't happy with how that played out, and I feel like I could have dealt with it better. Well, that was one of those things that it was just out of my control. It was happening, I was doing it, but I was just the observer. Well, there's no difference between that and whenever I handle a situation the way that I want to handle it, and when I'm happy about how I handled it. The only difference is like mindfulness in the moment and your ability to like not have emotions running the conversation. Like there's no difference between those two things except for how you think about them.
And that's why I said, redefining yourself it's kind of like how you say fake it till you make it. You before you've changed, you say right now you wouldn't describe yourself as a calm person, right? You say you define yourself as someone that's quick to anger. So what I'm saying is, like redefining yourself, I don't know. I may have lost what I've been trying to say here, but I feel like I may have just contradicted my two thoughts. So I'm like dismantling my own argument. I don't know. Maybe that is that way. I don't know. Now I'm second guessing it. Because I was going to say, can you redefine yourself before your actions change? And if you define yourself as a certain way and you really just like affirm that, can your actions change from the narrative that you've spun? But that would only work if you really believe it. But then that would indicate that the narrative that you're trying to change your narrative, you have control over, which is counter to my first argument that you have no control.
You kind of lost me a little bit.
I lost myself, my dude.
I'll say this. Regardless of how much I am or how much I'm not in control of things, all I know is that I am willing to be as wrong as I have to be so that I can work on being the version of myself that I'm more comfortable, I'm willing to be as wrong as I need to be and try again as many times as it takes to try to become the person that I would like to be. Okay, because I'm not that person yet.
I think I got a way of boiling it down. This might make sense or it might be blah, blah. But how do you open your hand?
You just do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just do.
Right. I can't give an adequate explanation on how I open my hand. It just opens.
I want it to open.
Right.
My brain tells something in my body to connect to these little things that are in my arm and fingers, and I just, it just happens.
Yeah. Okay. So, I was like, how do you change in 5 years, man?
Yeah.
You're like, well, you start working out, you make a routine.
That's easier to explain through than how to open your hand.
No, I was going to say it's the same thing.
Yeah, I guess the same way that you don't know how you open your hand is the
how
same
do you do
way
it?
That you don't know how you started doing all of these other things that you've never been able to do before, like consistently, and then dude, I don't know. Yeah,
you don't know how you do it. You just do it or you don't. You're doing something.
I used to. We talked about this a bunch in the past. I used to think that I could force myself to do things, and a lot of times it worked, or at least I thought it worked, or at least whenever like right now, if I make myself, I can stand the fuck up and do 10 push-ups right now. I can do that. Yeah. That is in my control right now. Is it though? Like, did I choose that? Am I going to do those push-ups every single day because I am forcing myself to do those push-ups, or because something in my brain has clicked that has made that worth it to do all the time that was never worth it before, so now it's just happening. It's like I couldn't explain the gap between the beginning and the end of that thing. Like, that would be the answer. Whatever it is that's in that gap of the time you start trying to do something to the time that you're doing the damn thing.
I need to show you a video by Cosmic Skeptic.
Is that guy that talks about the
atheism?
Okay.
Yeah.
He's really good at explaining stuff.
Fucking excellent. I'm going to show you his argument on free will and why there is no free will.
You showed me this, but you only showed me a little bit of it. We didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, we should watch the fucking thing because I want to brush up on my skills and his arguments.
But yeah, I think just another little added on thing as far as this whole how do you do it thing goes. I don't know how to explain it anymore. Now I just think about things differently, and certain things are more worth my time now. And those things that are worth my time now are just things that I've swapped out for stuff that used to be worth my time. So it's like, whereas I used to like to stay up real late and sleep in during the day, or sleep in the morning. Like, I wasn't ever really one of those people who slept until 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Usually like 11 o'clock was my sleeping in, because I'm like a anywhere between 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning riser. That's my going wake up time. Even back whenever I was doing nothing but smoking weed and playing games, I still woke up early. But like, whereas I used to just like get up and smoke and play games or whatever, like I replaced that with getting up and doing some exercise, getting the blood flowing, waking up and instead of drinking a whole bunch of coffee or some bullshit, hydrating myself and drinking some water. For whatever reason, somewhere along this path, it became more worth it to me to do that stuff in the morning than that other stuff that I was doing.
It's
And I just, yeah, like while it was
insanity.
while I was trying to do it, while I was trying to figure it out, I was just digging the hole deeper and deeper on the inability to understand, like, because I'm just like you're working on it and you're trying to go ahead. I got it.
Yeah, I'm ruminating something. There's a word for something that's happening with me right now. I think people, Angelo believes he exists. I believe I exist. I am a person. I'm an operator. I am in control.
You're a person.
I am a
You're
fucking
here.
person,
You're
my guy.
here.
Look at me. I can touch myself
Exactly.
wherever I want.
Of course.
I'm a fucking person.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to you, another fucking individual operator, right? Like, I could consciously punch you in the face right now. And it's like a fucking picture. It's like a picture on the TV screen.
And it's physical, it's tangible,
Right?
you can see it, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because who you are isn't something that I hold around. This is me. This is proof of me. This is my ID, right? Instead, you're on the screen, on the TV, and you see a picture of yourself. That is me. That is my idea of myself, right? This is how I see myself. But upon closer observation, you find out these are just pixels, right? And it's just these little pieces of information that form a picture of yourself. But it's really just little individual, like, pieces of information. And everybody that sees you sees a different picture on the screen. So who the fuck are you? You ask somebody that, they can't describe it. They give you the basic shit of the shit they do. And like, well, what is the definition of self?
I think
A body speaking?
I really like what you said about like every time, like about a picture being made up of a bunch of little smaller pixels, and each time someone different looks at that, they see something different. I think that's a really good, like, it'd be a good point to bring up. So would that mean, by that measure, would that mean that we're not the picture of ourselves that we see? We're a combination of all of these tiny, small, micro decisions that we make that attribute to our personality traits, and to, like, you know, like we are a walking series of small decisions, whatever those decisions might be.
And a lot of the pixels on the picture of you are off screen.
Yeah, because not everybody gets everything all the time. Like, the same way that we had that disagreement that morning with me and Nick and Wesley, there's a real good chance that Nick also had some bullshit going on at home, some other things in his life, some pixels that I didn't get to see. Same with Wesley and same with me. They didn't know that I was going through some shit at work that day. I bet you if we all had the full picture of one another, that day would have went very differently.
Yeah, if everybody started their day at work before they started working and said, hey, I'm in this mood because I got this sort of shit going on. I'm really trying to get through it. And everybody let their shit out.
Idea.
If everybody let their shit out, they could be like, oh, so like, yeah, I know you snapped at me, but I get it, man. You're going through shit. I'm going through shit myself. But you know, people
maybe
don't
we
do
should
that.
start doing that sometimes.
I mean, I don't get here early enough.
I'm going to start doing that. That's a fucking great idea. How the fuck have I not thought of that sooner?
Just to preface your day.
Yeah, like, just to let everybody know, fair warning, I got 12,000 things going on, and I'm ready to fuck somebody up for no reason. If it comes out on you, I am sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
and you can say that and be like, I'm not, just if I'm like that, I'm literally out of control. I just can't.
Just try to ignore me as best as you can, and then the day will go smooth, and eventually we can talk about whatever.
Yeah,
like,
cooler heads will prevail.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really, really good thing to do, man. Take away from that what you will, but that's a good thing to do if you're going through some shit. Even if you don't give a shit about the people that you work with or what their opinions of you are, like, it's still, like, probably be a really good thing to do, because at very least people would, like, resonate with that.
So I've never hung out with Nick outside of work besides once, right?
Did you hang out with him yesterday and do that whole money thing?
Oh, fuck.
No, didn't even.
I was supposed to text him.
Oh, you were.
I was going to text him and cancel.
I meant to reach out to him to tell him don't worry about it, but it just didn't happen.
You know, Mondays are a terrible day for me to try to plan something. Like when I did that podcast with John, my entire week was derailed. I didn't even clean my house. I broke my routine. By having the podcast on Monday, it was done. It was either I do this shit on Monday or it ain't getting fucking done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now I'm afraid. There is serious fear to do anything on Monday besides my set in stone routine.
You know what? That's okay though, because we talked a really long time for a really long while before you had your routine set about getting a routine and making it to where all this stuff that's really difficult to do becomes more difficult to not do than to do it. You're there.
Yeah, high five.
You
Fuck
did
yeah.
that, man. You did that shit.
I didn't do shit, man.
You got a fucking huge ass list over there too, man. Like I've seen this list. It's retarded. Nobody.
It might be backwards, Angelo.
Look, this might be backwards, but this is two different things on two different whiteboards of listage. This is all Monday. All of this.
One of them's Monday.
That's insane. Like, that's crazy. I thought both of those were Monday.
No, I used the last one to take like a rough draft. If I didn't complete
Well, the
everything.
longer one was Monday.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
That's crazy, dude. That's awesome. I'm proud of you for that because I'm not even halfway there yet. I'm like,
See, it don't
I'm
even
getting there.
that, like, you know, you compare yourself to where you want to be. Like that list.
Oh, we're not doing that right now. We're comparing you and ourselves to what we were doing. That's what's happening right now.
Well, we could talk about future comparisons.
Well, that's never good
Just
for
in the,
anybody.
you know, it's never good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean,
The
but-
never good enough mentality. Like, I'm
right.
comfortable doing what I do on Mondays, but I'm like, if I could just do that faster, like, I still have a hard time doing the extra shit. But I'm doing a baseline shit, so I'm happy about that.
Doing good.
But
Yeah, I just yeah, man. I that's another thing that I'm working on is comparing myself to nothing other than what I was yesterday.
Yeah.
That instead of anything other, instead of comparing myself to any other human being or to what I'd like to be in the future, just yourself yesterday. If you ever catch yourself trying to compare yourself to anything other than what you were yesterday, shut that shit down immediately. Shut it the fuck down and bring yourself back. Try to be as aware as you can in the moment and be like, no. None of that matters. Fuck who I'm trying to be. Fuck who I'd like to be like. Me yesterday is what I need to be better than today.
it's like
That's
working
it.
out. It's like working out with me, right? Like, I look at my muscles and they're nowhere where I want to be. Like, I'm trying to get slimmer, get more fit. But I can't compare myself to anybody but who I was yesterday because that's where I came from. That was the base, right? That's where I started out at. So, I mean, saying, yeah, of course I'm not going to fucking look like these other people. I was at where I was at, but am I better today than I was yesterday in that sense?
And
yes.
you so are, dude. Like you're compared to how you were when I met you, bro. You're fucking strong, like for real. How many push-ups can you do now?
I don't know.
You haven't been doing
Ever since I
push-ups?
changed to different exercises to work out my wrist, I ain't done a push-up.
Because the push-ups were
Let's
fucking.
fucking
your
find
wrist up.
out, man.
All right,
I did work out yesterday. It's
about
not
to
gonna
see it here. Okay, folks, just to give everybody a precedent, we got 1, all right, 2. Never used to be able to go past 2, folks. 3, okay, 4, oh yeah, 5. You keeping got good form. 6, 7, oh my God, 8. Are we gonna get to 10? 9, oh my God. 10, baby. Used to barely be able to do 1 or 2. That's
doing women push-ups.
that's real. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. And they used to be girl push-ups on the knees. Those were.
Dude, I was
full,
going down on them too, man.
Those were full proper form man push-ups. 10 of them. That's a 90% increase.
You know, what I'm most impressed about that wasn't that I could do 10 push-ups. It was the fact that I've actually got my wrist stronger.
Nice, and they don't hurt right now, dude.
No, they feel fine.
I could see
And my back, my core is strong enough to where I could do the form proper.
everything from your forearms down got super red, which means a whole bunch of blood flushed into your
Fuck
arms
yeah, I
and
feel
hands.
it, man. That shit was intense.
If your wrist was gonna hurt, it'd be hurting right now.
Dude, my wrists are fucking fine.
Hell yeah, dude. Little
yeah.
strength conditioning. I don't know what kind of push-up-age I could do, but I haven't. That hasn't been like the bulk of my stuff lately. So,
Yeah,
but
no,
either
I
way,
feel good. I'm getting stronger.
Just by how I look and how I feel. Like I haven't weighed myself in a while, but I know I've definitely trimmed up. I feel better. You just feel better when you do better stuff for yourself.
Well, We'll wrap it up, man.
Yeah, this has been a really
This has
good
been fucking fun.
It
Yeah.
always is. It always
Always
is.
is. Maybe it should just be the permanent, and I'll never have anyone cancel on me again.
I mean, you'd be true. I'd be here. I'd be early, if anything.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in to this episode, especially if you made it to the end. Don't forget to hit that like button. The shit matters.
Yep.
Wesley or Nick, if you're watching,
I was just about to give those two a shout out. Thanks for
I love you guys.
Yeah, I love you guys. Sorry about the bullshit last week, Nick. I'll get better. We will be better. Yeah, it's get different versions of me all the time, but I'm constantly trying to make those versions a little bit easier to deal with.
And don't be mad at Angelo. He doesn't exist. You don't exist.
It's nothing.
Hey, I'm always open to hearing y'all out. If y'all exist, let me know how y'all exist, and we'll talk about it and see if you do exist.
Yeah, please put some actual suggestions in the comments. That would be wonderful if you could actually do that.
Hell of a way to end the podcast, my dude.
In there. Success.